Picture this, you're at a party and one of your friends wants you to break down the key AI trends for this quarter. To be prepared for the situation, you could do the dumb thing and consume hundreds of jargon-heavy blog posts, articles, videos, and earnings calls for hours on end and waste your time. Or you can give me 10 minutes to cut through the noise and explain exactly what happened in AI over the past 6 weeks so that you can provide cutting-edge insights and impress everyone. No technical jargon or industry speak, just the essential insights you need to impress everybody and stay ahead of the curve. But before we begin, a quick disclaimer. Some of the views I express in this video are speculative and forward-looking. I do not claim to be an official financial coach to any of you, just a guy on the internet who wants to share his passion for AI with the world. As a result, any financial or investing decisions you make as a result of my analysis is on your own risk. And there is always a chance that I, just like every other expert in AI and finance, is wrong. With that in mind, let's continue to the video. Quarter 4 of 2024, spanning from October, November, and December, was an incredible 3 months for AI. There was an established order to things, since there were only a couple models that were dominating. The big models that were coming up during this time were called reasoning models. A reasoning model is when an AI model uses logical steps to come to a conclusion, which makes it better at analyzing things. There were various competitors to create the strongest AI reasoning model, but the most notable ones were OpenAI's ChatGPT-o1 and Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 3.5. There are other models such as Google Gemini and Meta's Llama 3 suite, but they weren't as dominant as these two when it came to sheer model power. However, there was another important trend in AI during this time, and that was called cloud computing. What is cloud computing? A cloud computing platform is when a bunch of servers are put together online, making it easier for users to do computations for their applications by using the data stored on the cloud that is offered to the company. It's kind of like renting a supercomputer, if that makes sense. Also, these companies are pay-as-you-go, meaning that you pay based on the amount of data that you actually use. This is important. Amazon Web Services was the biggest cloud computing platform by a lot. Then Microsoft Azure, then Google's Cloud. These giants also battled to give out the most space to every single company in the AI space. Meanwhile, NVIDIA was dominating the microchip industry. Microchips are important because of their ability to quickly process data is important in teaching AI models, since they need a lot of data to learn things just like us. Since NVIDIA's chips had the fastest data processing statistics, they were considered the best in the industry and were used by a lot of companies to develop AI models. To sum it up, we were very stable. As a result, companies geared up for an unbelievably strong quarter closeout in their earnings calls, and investors sat back in their chairs and relaxed. America was the clear dominator in the AI space. We had the best models and the funding to keep our dominance. We didn't think we needed to do anything else different to keep our lead. Right?
On track for one of its worst days in the past 2 years. And here's why. There's a Chinese startup that few people had ever heard of until the past few days, and it has emerged as a real player in the AI arms race. It's called DeepSeek.
DeepSeek. DeepSeek.
Let's talk about DeepSeek.
On January 20th, DeepSeek R1 was released. It became the most downloaded app on the App Store for weeks. So why is everyone freaking out? First, it's completely free for everyone. DeepSeek is open source, meaning that anybody can download it without paying a cent. To be able to perpetually use the OpenAI models on par with DeepSeek, you would need to pay $200 a month. That's $2.4K a year, when you can get the same output, generate more times, and it's free. But DeepSeek's model must have been worse, right? There was no way they produced the same output. Wrong. DeepSeek performed at the same level as ChatGPT-o1 and Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 3.5. The two models I mentioned were fighting for the #1 place in the industry earlier. In some cases, it actually outperformed these models. Plus, DeepSeek wasn't just less expensive for consumers, their operating costs were much lower. See, DeepSeek had found a way to generate stuff really quickly and use less tokens. Think of tokens as little units of data. They represent how much space and time is used to complete an AI generation, basically what the model says. For us, it's like the effort our vocal cords need to do before we can speak. If all of this wasn't enough. DeepSeek's model training cost was only $5.6 million. To put that into perspective, the top American companies were blowing billions on these models, and DeepSeek comes through and does this with a fraction of a percent of a cost. There were some negative qualities with DeepSeek though. It is prone to jailbreaking, meaning that if you can say something specific to it, you can get it to say something that you want, including answering dangerous questions or saying inappropriate things. Also, a lot of your personal data is being collected by DeepSeek, which likely passes it to the Chinese government and beyond. Despite these flaws, DeepSeek poses a significant challenge to AI companies in America, and they need to take some sort of action to keep their skin in the game. What might this action look like? They have two options. One is to make their current models cheaper to compete with DeepSeek. This won't work in and of itself because DeepSeek has a similar or even better strength model and is completely free, so American companies cannot compete from that perspective. The only viable option for American companies is to make their models much better than DeepSeek while lowering their cost to regain their original base. As Mark Andreessen, billionaire VC and former search pioneer, said, DeepSeek R1 is AI's Sputnik moment. Instead of the space race, the US and China are now launched in a desperate grasp for computing power, quality, and speed. We are in the AI race now.
Sir, what do you think about this achievement of the Russians?
I think it's a remarkable thing. My only regret is that we couldn't get there first.
Earnings calls were predicted to close out well given the success of the fiscal quarter. However, given DeepSeek, you can probably imagine that that wasn't what happened for the most part. Although I have spent a lot of time analyzing these earnings calls, I can't explain them too heavily in 2 minutes. As a result, if this video gets enough views and likes, I will consider making a video breaking down some of the specifics of these earnings calls and teaching you how to analyze them fully. Please watch to the end, like, and subscribe if you're interested in seeing if you're seeing that and more videos and podcasts from Neural Bridge. Anyway, how did sales calls for each of these AI giants go after the DeepSeek impact? Let's start by making a list of the major players in the industry. These big guys, so to speak, are OpenAI, Anthropic, Microsoft, Google, and Meta. Some other people's lists might look different, but this is what it is for me. Now, both Anthropic and OpenAI are private companies, meaning they don't need to report their earnings and performance to investors since they aren't dealing with the public market. However, we do have the data of some public companies such as Microsoft, Google, and Meta, who are involved directly with the DeepSeek situation. Let's go company by company and see how each one was impacted. Let's start with Microsoft. Microsoft should have been pretty negatively impacted by the DeepSeek drama. It's common knowledge that OpenAI and Microsoft have a very positive relationship, with Microsoft's cloud computing platform Azure even hosting OpenAI's AI data. As a result, when DeepSeek happened, investors were worried about Microsoft's connection with OpenAI, since DeepSeek's model is very competitive to ChatGPT. But why? Microsoft's AI revenue grew 175% year over year, which is basically comparing the performance this year to this time last year. And this is incredibly high, unmatched by anything else in the industry. The reason is that Wall Street doesn't necessarily think that AI is a safe bet because it's so volatile. One day, companies like Microsoft were on top of the world when it came to AI, and all of a sudden, DeepSeek comes through and changes everything. Therefore, the logical decision is to focus on Microsoft's less than expected cloud performance on Azure, which I could make yet another video as to why this is the case. But because of the skepticism, Microsoft dropped about 7% the next day after the earnings call. Let's move to Google next. Google was also pretty negatively impacted, even more so than Microsoft. Google made a critical mistake that would lead them to drop almost 1% more than Microsoft the day after the earnings call. First of all, Google did not have a freakish AI growth percentage like Microsoft. Let's be honest, no one in the industry other than Microsoft could have pulled that off. But Google definitely did not help their case for AI. During the call, Google CEO Sundar Pichai announced a $75 billion spending plan on Google's AI endeavors, right when investors were worried that big American tech was throwing away money at the AI problem without looking for ways to optimize it and train using less money, like DeepSeek. In my opinion, Google could not have chosen a worse time to announce their spending plan than in the earnings call right after the DeepSeek fiasco. This led to investors being very worried about Google's AI journey, thinking that they're just throwing money at the issue, leading them to drop 8% after market close the next day of the earnings call. Now, you might be thinking, it's all bad, isn't it? Well, no. Interestingly enough, there was one outlier to this whole tech downward spiral, and that was Meta. You might remember that earlier I said that Meta's Llama 3 suite of products were much more cost effective as compared to other options. Well, that was actually Meta's superpower. There is something super interesting about Llama. It is open source, just like DeepSeek, meaning that anyone can download or use it. These two factors means that Llama is actually the most competitive model to DeepSeek right now, except for one thing, the model strength. Llama's model is not as strong as OpenAI's, Anthropic's, or even Google's, but upgrading in model strength should be easier with the huge spending package that Meta announced prior to the DeepSeek situation, where Zuck declared that he was spending $60 to $65 billion on improving his AI model. Now, you might be thinking, didn't Google do the same thing and it didn't pan out very well for them? This is slightly different than Google's spending plan. Not only is it $10 to $15 billion cheaper, it was not reactive to the DeepSeek situation, meaning that Zuckerberg was planning to do this beforehand. Plus, in the eyes of investors, if Llama can get its model up to speed with the competitors in the industry, it will be the best thing to compete with DeepSeek. As a result, Meta grew 5% immediately after the earnings call, and as of Friday, it grew 10%. Now that we have looked at the state of the American tech and AI industries both before and after DeepSeek, as well as examined the earning calls for the biggest players in AI, what next? How do we translate these insights into something that you can use? Well, here are my insights. 1. We were getting way too comfortable in AI and tech, which is actually the exact opposite of what is supposed to happen in tech. As somebody involved in both startups of my own and others, as well as being able to understand the views of big companies, I can 100% admit that I fell prey to this tendency. I felt that there was nothing we needed to worry about at all regarding disruption, and we could continue along our merry paths without any concern. I'm sure this is what companies like Intel and Ask Jeeves thought before they got completely demolished by other companies like Microsoft and Google respectively. So we need to stay on our toes when it comes to tech and AI, because there's always a chance that somebody out there is doing it better than us. 2. AI applications are proportional to model strength. An AI application basically means that using AI for something, whether it is for analysis like medicine or in generation like in writing emails. Eventually, if you have a very bad AI model, you have a bad application, since no matter how you prompt engineer, basically telling the AI what to do, it can't follow your instructions. Essentially, whoever wins the model race or strikes a happy medium with the competition will succeed long term. 3. The US companies are not down and out just yet. OpenAI is soon to release GPT-5, which incorporates their new reasoning model O3, and the big model providers have announced spending packages and are getting their best people on the job. As a result, while it might be easy to feel pessimistic about the current state of the market, I can almost guarantee that US companies will be able to beat DeepSeek. 4. The gap for established companies in AI will be a huge opportunity for companies which aren't as much in the AI space just yet, like Amazon, to use their established cloud computing platforms to advance more into AI and the generative stage. Another company that I think is on the up and up is Meta, since their model is built to be most competitive to DeepSeek right now. And if they continue with their $60 to $65 billion spending plan, they will definitely be able to get on par with OpenAI and other big AI companies. With that, now you know everything you could possibly need to know to impress your friends at that party while being ahead of the game and ready to make some informed decisions while investing, even if you are a complete AI beginner. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe for more like this. Let's bridge the gap together.